draw some inspiration and power and strength from the unknown, where, if you like, supernatural source. And that is, for me, the churches and the mosque. And so it's one of the helping places that we could quickly go to. And that's why, for me, I feel that it's, apart from saying that all the other people are hit hard, one of the places we should want to open and draw that strength from is the church or the mosque.
That's a good point. We are a secular nation according to our constitution, but we are religious people.
Right.
Koku, I'm sure you had a quiet time this morning when you woke up very early.
Right.
But you could have said, okay, well, since God is capable of all things, I won't dress up and come for the show. I'll just keep praying, and the show will go on. And mind you, you would have a query tomorrow from your bosses. So the God factor is there, the Allah factor is there, but do your bit and then leave the rest to God. And so we also have to do our own, empirical analysis. Like when the cedi struggles against the dollar, it's not about prayer. It's about fiscal discipline. It's about carrying out policies that will make your currency strong enough to compete on the international markets.
And we did all of this, didn't we? Or we were not? Or
yeah, but still the cedi was struggling. A pastor was commanding the cedi to do well. You just don't command the cedi to do better than the US dollar. What have the Americans done for their currency to be so strong? Those are the things you need to do. They have on their dollar bill, "In God we trust."
Yes, I was going there. Probably it's one of the things that gives strength to the
we
dollar.
have the big six.
Right.
We draw inspiration from them. This teaches you industry. It teaches you hard work. You need to get your groove on to solve national issues. You don't just, surrender to superstition and spiritualism. So His Excellency must have or might have invited men of God to usher in this period of austerism or austerity. But then beyond that, we need to do a practical analysis of issues before we take decisions.
Well, again, I've heard most of them, again, the head of the Christian Council, yesterday in one of our sister stations, speak at length about it. Again, they are not asking for immediate opening of the churches. Yes, we get that. But I think what they are saying is whether we could look at it again. Because it is, again, for me, coming back. But hey, let's drop that. Let's move to Tanzania.
No, there's a good point you are raising. Look, there are three major religions in this country.
Right.
Christianity, Islam, and atheism, animism.
Right.
Our own great-grandfathers were worshipping idols. The shrine may have some discipline. Oh, before you see the fetish priest, 2 or 3 of you can come in. Unless maybe our brothers and sisters are doing the etoten. That way you can't control the crowd. But then, there's no central religious authority in this country. The Pentecostals are there, the charismatic churches are there.
Right.
If the Catholic faith, and I attended the Catholic high school, decides that the Pope
says...
you did?
Yes.
School, yeah.
Oh, wow.
If the Pope says all Catholic churches should have 20% of the congregation attend Mass, and this should be the social distancing or spacing between them, I bet you this could be coming from the Vatican. But all Catholic churches around the world will adhere to that directive. But we live in a country where, after school, you tried a few jobs and things didn't work out because you can read English. You just grab a copy of the Bible, and then you beg a principal of a school that, oh, headmaster, when the kids close, I want to start a church. And you've started a ministry. And then there are people...
That's not a true reflection of what's happening.
No. If it isn't, what is?
Most of them have gone to the Bible school.
I'm sorry, no.
Learned,
I'm sorry. Many
and
of
learned
the people
under
across,
prophets.
No, I'm sorry. Across board, look at the men of God we have. Quote unquote, from the Islamic faith and then the Christian faith. There are people who don't know the Quran, but they just come out and call themselves Malams. So there is no religious discipline because there's no central authority. So if His Excellency listens to a few voices, the Catholic Bishops' Conference and a few, organized churches, the Methodist Church, the Presbyterian Church, they have control over their junior pastors, their diocese, and then their membership. How about the one-man churches? And then sometimes worship is driven by profit. The larger the congregation, the more the offertory. So we can't ensure discipline. And the last thing we would want to see is security forces going into places of worship that are sanctuaries and then hitting people. We wouldn't want to risk that as a country. So I side with His Excellency.
Even when they assure the authorities that they will do what is right and ensure social distancing, wearing of masks, and washing of hands at the entrance, you think that still cannot hold?
You can't guarantee that discipline, Koku, across board. And I believe His Excellency dotted every I and crossed every T, did the necessary deliberations before coming out with this decision. If you've gone hungry for the past 1.5 months, go hungry for a fortnight. It doesn't kill. And I believe that from the 31st, maybe the directives may be different. And again, the UK, you saw the UK Prime Minister, and he's under enormous pressure to open up the economy. But we are doing much better. You are reporting to work in full throttle. Many companies are now up and working and all that. So I think this incremental or piecemeal way of getting society to live in a normal way again is the best decision for us as a country. And the ban on social gathering being extended for me wasn't a bad decision.
Let's look at what Tanzania is doing. Again, John Magufuli, the president of Tanzania, has refused to close down worship places. Now, let's look at their case count. They have 509 cases, only 21 deaths, and recovered is 183. Probably, just probably. The problem is not with the churches or the places of worship.
Many people read from open source.
I see.
And then they come and tell you stuff.
Right.
But thank God, I'm privileged to sit with those who are controlling this thing.
Decision makers?
In fact, I sat with the one in charge of doing the liaison at the time of the lockdown.
Okay.
And then,
liaising with who, actually?
Everybody.
Okay, right.
Everybody within the security sector and all that.
Right.
And I saw an important person in the whole of this, and I told him, sir, you've lost some weight. So people are having sleepless nights to keep you and me safe. We can't be wiser in judgment than those people.
Right.
So Tanzania has good things to teach us. There's no profligate expenditure of the public purse in Tanzania, and there are no extravagant national ceremonies and all that. When they celebrate their Independence Day, they do it moderately under John Magufuli. But His Excellency made a point yesterday that the more you test, the larger the numbers of those you will discover have tested positive. So the question is, how many Tanzanians have been tested? And Ghana has done over 160,000 tests. And per million, we are the best in Africa.
And you know what would expose you if you are not testing is the deaths. Because as you refuse to test, or you're preventing whoever must test, you find that what would only expose you is the deaths. And so you can't tell that some countries are not testing because people are not dying. Yes. Because within some few days, people get to die out of this.
And then again, there's a movie out there,
right?
A feature documentary out there called Plandemic.
Okay.
Instead of pandemic, it's Plandemic.
Right.
It is as if this thing has been cooked and then fed to the world.
Right.
And Koku, I urge you to watch Plandemic. The arguments there are solid. And in 2011, there was a movie called Contagion that was produced.
Right.
That close to a decade ago. It gave a complete reflection of what COVID-19 would look like. Social distancing, isolation. So is this premeditated? So it is important for us to consider all of the arguments. Of course, there are conspiracy theories, but eventually, what decisions can you take as a country that will save the most lives? And on this pedestal, I think Ghana is just on the right tangent, and we are taking the right decisions.
So you believe that places of worship remain closed, just as the president has spoken, and whether or not we want, look, just let them remain closed. Again, the lorry stations I mentioned earlier, the trotros, marketplaces. We went to Agbogboloshe the other day. One of our reporters went there. And the uncertainty that we're talking about is right in our face. No social distancing. They are not ensuring those protocols at all. People are not wearing their mask. One of these nights, I chose to walk to Circle, and what I saw was surprising. people were not putting their mask on. And so for me, that's why I feel that we should wrap our minds around this.
Those
and see.
are the negative examples. It's just like a toddler. If you're asked to do a review of the toddler, you'll see Kwaku Jr. destroys everything in sight. He pulls sockets out and everything. But the good thing is, when you ask the child to sit, it sits. You understand? Or the baby or the toddler to sit, it sits. So I believe that let's look at the positive sides. Have you noticed trotro drivers don't admit you on board unless you have a face mask? Those are the positives we need to highlight as well as we continue to cut off the rough edges of the mechanisms we are doing, the public outreach. And the NCCE had challenges with resources. And His Excellency says, boom, today they are getting 10,000 PPEs.
Is that not surprising? No, it didn't even mention the money.
Society organization. It says more money.
More money.
It's just like telling you, your employer telling you, you will have a pay rise
whether
after COVID-19. Whether it's 5% or 90%, it's a pay rise.
I see. Interesting.
So, Koko, I believe we are all concerned.
Right.
And I would urge the men of God, the women of God, those who operate these, places of worship. We've come this far. Let's finish hard. And I believe eventually, they say God is everywhere. God is under your bed. God is wherever you are. Just pray. But I think the social nature of worship.
Fellowship.
Right. And so when people do live worship, the fact that I can look over my shoulder and see somebody in the spirit, and the fact that I'm
iron sharpened
iron sharpened iron.
Yeah.
So that is missing.
Right.
But apart from that, Koko, when you even pray in private, you pray more sincerely than when you do to show off in public in some cases.
I see.
So I think it's the financial bit, the commercial bit.
You think so?
And other things that are, posing challenges.
Don't you mix the mosque?
The bailout that is going to be given to businesses, places of worship may be considered, journalists may be considered, because media houses are laying off people in droves.
I see.
Yes, you've taken a bat, you've taken a hit as well. So as we, disburse the bailout package, we can consider churches, we can consider media houses.
that would be reducing them to business entities, which they are not.
And today,
no, they are not.
No.
Do they pay taxes?
They don't pay taxes.
So that's all business entities must pay tax.
They don't pay taxes, but you'll be jailed in this country if you have more money than a pastor. No.
Now that's funny.
No, but that is true. You don't get paid until the end of the month. A pastor makes sales every Sunday.
Sales?
That is to go, of course, the offertory, sales. And then 10% of your monthly salary goes in as tithe. And in the Muslim community, the imam is assured that anytime people congregate, there will be some money. They will tell you to settle utility bills and all, but there will always be a surplus. That's why your man of God looks better than you. He eats better. He lives in a more comfortable environment.
Because at night, we are not veering off, but because at night I have to pick a phone and call him that I'm in trouble.
But do you know, even in the house of God, there's discrimination. Calls that come from top executives may go directly to the head pastor. But the tomato seller may never have a direct line to the head pastor.
I think it depends on the church.
There are junior, imams, junior pastors that can handle you.
Right.
And so fundamentally, Koko, I think spiritualism is important. But in the face of this, life-threatening, issue, we need to make some compromise.
I see.
Churches and mosques should do.
Well, we're trying to wrap up. I think we're just also wrapping our minds around this, whether or not it's not time to open churches. I think it's pretty clear from what I hear from Sheikh Alhaji Bad Ibrahim that, look, it's time to still go ahead with the directives of the president. Probably one day we might see how all of these turns out. But for now, it's not time to open the churches. I don't know what you think, though. I don't really know what you think. I've heard a lot of people also say that, hey, open the churches. We can do the right thing, get to fellowship again. But as far as we're concerned, the directives prove otherwise. We are not lifting
even
ban on
the
social.
St. Peter's Basilica.
Right.
St. Peter's Basilica it's not operational, where the Pope does Mass. And before Martin Luther King not the junior of the civil rights movement,
Right.
but the senior, challenged the church on some, matters of thesis,
Right.
Religious edicts, and exegesis. The central authority in Christendom was the Pope. Since the days of Byzantium, the eastern bloc of the Roman Empire, Constantinople came out of Constantine. And the Bible, the King James Version of the Bible, was as a result of the decisions of Constantine. So the papacy, for so many centuries, was speaking for Christendom. The Crusades were done by Pope Urban I
Right.
Of France. So even if the Pope is the soul of Christendom, Protestants may have their other issues, but Catholicism has the largest number in the world. It has the most solid history,
of course.
In terms of Christianity and the understanding of the faith.
And it doesn't
And
look
the
like
Pope
they are going
doesn't
to...
gather people. The Pope doesn't gather people at the St. Peter's Basilica. So let's
It doesn't mean that all of these advocacy to have churches come back, it doesn't mean that Catholics are not part of it. Because again, I heard one if only the president sees need to want to do so, why not?
Everybody has had to make sacrifices.
Right.
People who go to Jerusalem on pilgrimage, there's no trip to Israel. I was in Mecca. I was in Mecca last year with my family. We are not going to Mecca.
Right.
The Kaaba is under lockdown.
I see.
So this is Ramadan. Eid, the president indicated, we can't congregate on Eid.
For fasting, at least you, for fasting, you can do that in your
No, when you
home.
fast, you need to congregate. We don't do that.
pray.
The mosques are under lock and key.
I see.
So I think we've come a long way as a country. Let's finish hard. And I believe by summer, this thing will be over and life will come back to normal.
We have heard from the peace ambassador, the security analyst. Now, let's hear from you. We'll open the phone lines. I want to hear what you think. Probably we might pick one or two from you. And it's always a good thing to engage you in the show and to ensure that we get a complete and holistic thing that we do here. From you, you are part of this big conversation. So call us now and let's know what you think. Should we open the churches? What should we do? Do you have any ideas that could help us going forward, especially as far as opening the churches? I'm specific, not lifting the ban on social gathering, but opening the churches. Because as I said before, look, when these things struck, apart from the fact that nurses were working, doctors were working tirelessly, all we had to do was to engage pastors, men of God, at a breakfast meeting for them to pray for the nation. It means we draw some strength and power from somewhere. So it's only good to have them congregate and have fellowship and help us in these times of need. So call us, let's hear what you think. But there's one interesting thing. Let's look at Taiwan. Taiwan shares a border with China, isn't it?
In fact, it's actually a Chinese province, according
right.
to China, because China hasn't recognized Hong Kong and Taiwan as independent countries.
Right. So it's a province. Their case count 440, deaths 7, recovery 368. Look at Rwanda. It's a very interesting one here. Rwanda has no deaths. One of the things I saw, Rwanda has no deaths, and so I'm thinking, what has been happening there? Why is it that cases 153 new cases. The test as of today 1,449. Recovery is 84. Death 0.
Koku,
what have they been doing, right?
Koku, hundreds of thousands of babies are born every day into the world.
Right.
And in the same token, hundreds of thousands of people die every day.
So if not necessarily through COVID,
you will still die anyway. And some of the doctors are complaining that when there are deaths from other causes, their countries force them to include COVID. The people are just forcing doctors to say this patient died of COVID-19. When the doctors know as a result of decades of practice within the medical field that TB could have killed you, and hypertension could have killed you, and all that. So I believe that we need to situate this argument right, that deaths happen. This morning at 37 Military Hospital, people died, but not necessarily of COVID-19. And so if Rwanda says, well, there are Rwandan people that are dying anyway, And so let's not be deceived by the numbers, Koko.
I see.
And
But it's the numbers that matter here anywhere.
And those numbers are not given by the World Health Organization. There's no supervision. That is why over the past week there has been an argument about the figures that have been given to the IMF and the figures we have recorded.
Rahman is calling us from Tema. Good morning and thanks for joining us. Rahman.
Hello?
Yes, you're on air. Please talk to us.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. How are you too?
The problem is, you see, the churches.
Rahman, if you can lower the volume on your TV set, I'll be extremely grateful.
I've lowered it.
Okay, we could still hear some feedback. Hello, Rahman. All right, Rahman is off. You can still also call us. Let's know what you think about the opening of churches. And should we? What are your ideas? Probably you could share some of these, and we could take one or two things out of that. Well, so you were saying that let's not be deceived by COVID-19 deaths.
Because it's just like telling a father, how well do you feed your kids? Are they malnourished or they get good food? And you have no authority over his household to come check what kind of breakfast the kids take, what kind of lunch they take, and what kind of dinner. All you do is meet the guy on the park. How are the kids feeding? Oh, superb. They have an English breakfast, their lunch is solid, and they take a buffet for their dinner. There's no way the international community can verify the figures.
So let's take this call. Nee from Nungwa is on the line. Hi. Nee?
Hello?
Nee Tete? Nee, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Very well. You're on air. Please talk to us.
Yeah.
Nee?
I can hear you.
Yes, please talk to us.
Yeah. You see, I understand church words and stuff like that. What is going on in the country or the world as a whole is that now, when it comes to churches, God knows people worship them even through their heart. Now, it has happened that there is a pandemic, and God is aware this is going on. Fine. If we don't gather to worship, and we worship at our homes, God accept it. So let's wait until this problem away. When it goes away, we'll be free to worship our God. God understands whatever is going on. That is my contribution, please.
Okay. Thank you very much, Nee. We wish you all the best. Have a good day. Well, it's one of those calls that says, look, hey, let's let this go.
Yes,
let's let it go. Let's let it go.
I'm confident that maybe by June.
By June, have you heard that?
No, let's not go there. They say, as for by June, now we all die. Quarter by June.
But that's no.
No, COVID on the flip side, Koko, has provided an opportunity for people to ease tension.
Right.
It has opened opportunities for us to use technologies some more.
Right.
We didn't know about Zoom. At least many of us didn't until COVID-19.
Let me pick the very final
one. There
are
opportunities in this time of crisis.
Derek from Amasaman is on the line. Hi, good morning and thanks for joining us. Right, you're on air.
Hello.
Yes, you're on air. Derek.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Please talk to us.
Please, for the churches at the moment, what I might say is that if they are being, allowing this issue to be having their meeting, then they are supposed to allow the churches to open so that the Christians and the Muslims who can go to church. And here they are safety measures. As the same way the EC are saying that they are also adhering to. You cannot just allow one particular hand to be doing what you feel that we shouldn't do, and we should stay at home without worshiping God. That doesn't make sense if I might say. Sorry to use that way.
Right.
You should just allow the churches to go back to church, but they should practice safety measures and social distancing.
Right.
And they should cut off their numbers of their members too. That's what I might say.
Okay. Thank you very much, Derek, from Amasaman. Well, he takes a different view.
No, nobody can stop you from
Absolutely.
worshiping God.
Right.
You know, the two major religions, Islam and Christianity, have had history. There have been times they've been persecuted.
Okay, so that's what we've been discussing. But one of these days, we should take a listen to almost all of these parts. Well, you were saying.
Yes, they've had a checkered history.
Right.
There have been times they've chased them.
Right.
That didn't prevent people from worshiping.
Worshipping.
And the Crusades were fights in the Middle East against Islam. And then Genghis Khan of Mongolia.
I see.
wherever shared
All right.
So fundamentally, what I'm saying is,
So we'll take a break here, well, we'd have to end it here. Sorry, we'd have to end it here. I apologize. And this is how far we have come. But thank you very much, Alhaji Bad Ibrahim. As always, it's always a good time to want to engage him on these issues. I'm extremely glad. Well, coming up is a conversation that I want to have. So aside all of this, just as Alhaji Bad said, there is a certain lacuna there. There's a certain space. Innovations is what we can see. How do we change our minds? Let's talk about changing septic tanks into biodigesters so that our fecal matter could come back to help us. It's a conversation we'll have after this. Don't go anywhere.